requested. Additionally, a change was made to the paragraph discussing the CFC incentive.
So did you print out a new one?
This was in my box. I thought this was the new one.
Does I have the 21st date?
No, mine doesn't.
Oh, well, didn't yours have two over there?
Sorry.
That could be why I couldn't find it. Holy moly, it's hot.
Good morning. Where are we at now?
Just, but it could be my nerves too.
I couldn't get a call in, so that's what put me on hold.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. What do we have? We have 5. We have 12. He's going to have to read some this time.
Good morning, it's Claire. May I speak to Tim?
Under the CFC charges, it says.
Good morning, I'm going to put you on speakerphone. Oh, thank you. Okay, thank you. Okay, here we go. I hope I did that right.
Are you there, Commissioner? Hold on, we can't hear you. Hold on, please.
Okay.
Try again, Commissioner.
How about that?
There you are.
All right.
Okay. All ready?
Yes, I am.
Did you find it yet?
No, I haven't.
It's the end of the CFC charges.
We don't have a heading of that.
And he's in the room talking to somebody. We're starting this half second late, Commissioner. Wait, please. So just look through that.
NK in 2015, is that part of that?
No. Should be the 5,000.
Exclusive, there we go.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay. Where's that?
Principal tenants of the plan are...
Okay, here we go. All right, we're ready. Good morning, everybody, and welcome. This is our Tuesday, April 12th, regular meeting of the Mason County Commission. Let's see.
We have Wes Martin, who is a member of the board of the school board for Great View School District.
Excellent. Wes, would you mind leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance today? Sure. Thank you, Commissioner.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Commissioner District 1, Mary Netherland.
Here.
Commissioner District 2, Tim Sheldon.
I'm in Olympia, but on the phone.
Commissioner District 3, Terry Jeffries.
Here.
Correspondence, number 4, correspondence and organizational business. Item number 4.1, correspondence. Do we have a need to come before the commission today?
Yes. Gary Gordon submitted an application for the Housing Authority Board. Dean Bird and Michael Foster submitted applications for the Civil Service Commission. Sharon Hankinson submitted a letter of concern regarding raising the speed limit on Sand Hill Road. The Washington State County Road Administration Board sent a letter soliciting County Engineer of the Year nominations. Janet O'Connor submitted an application for the Solid Waste Advisory Committee. And the Washington State Liquor Control Board submitted a special occasion license application for Colony Surf Club. A list of businesses with liquor licenses due to expire within 90 days. And notice that McGavick Nanstead Winery has discontinued sale and service of liquor.
Thank you. Item number 4.2, Washington State University Extension Office announcement. New director, staff, Zena Edwards.
Good morning. So it's my pleasure to announce WSU Mason County Extension is going to welcome a new director. Dr. Justin G. Smith has been hired as director of WSU Mason County Extension. He comes to us from Austin, Texas, where he's serving his postdoctoral fellow in the Department of Natural Resources and Extension at Cornell University. As a WSU faculty member in Community and Economic Development, he will serve as a catalyst for capacity building within Mason County. linking WSU and county government resources to evolving community, economic development, natural resources, and food systems opportunities. Smith's selection follows a national search, of which Commissioner Jeffries was part of that search team, thank you, that involved WSU Extension faculty, staff, and stakeholders. He will assume his responsibilities in June. He's actually here visiting this week, and we'll be checking in with staff, just doing some quick meetings. I think it's mostly so he can find a place to live.
We know a few realtors.
Yeah. So we'll be seeing him just briefly this week. So Dr. Smith is a WSU alum and longtime Washington State resident. Justin earned his doctorate in environmental and natural resource sciences from Washington State University, and holds a master's in international relations from St. Mary's University. At the Evergreen State College, he earned his bachelor's in liberal arts with a concentration in information technology and community development. So he has quite a diverse and well-rounded background, and I think is going to be an excellent fit for Mason County and the communities in Mason County. Smith has nearly a decade of research and outreach experience on issues related to community and economic development, agri-food systems, environmental stewardship, and information technology. Currently at the Department of Natural Resources and Extension at Cornell University, he has been responsible for developing and implementing the EPA's EE Capacity Professional Environmental Education Training Program. In 2004, he co-founded the Public Spirit Project, a nonprofit dedicated to fostering civic problem solving. The Extension team in Mason County has a wonderful history of working with local partners and residents to contribute to the county's economic and quality of life. And I am confident Justin will provide the leadership to build upon this fine tradition. And that's a quote from Maud McDaniel, who is the head of the WSU Community and Economic Development team.
Great. Senna, thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And
we do have more, we do have the flyer and announcement of Justin's announcement, so if by the door, if anybody's interested.
Please.
I just wanted to share too, being part of the research or the search team was an honor. The things that I'm very excited that Justin brings to us is that aren't outlined here is a lot of background in survey research methodologies, and mixed with his IT background and social media background. I think that's going to help launch our new initiatives in the WSU Extension Office that are going to focus on community development. And I think this is an exciting time for WSU Extension here in Mason County. We will maintain our water quality programs, 4-H, all those other things, but we're moving now into community development, which I think is exciting, and what a wonderful skill set to have as we launch a new initiative.
And certainly community and economic development isn't a standalone. Certainly the youth development programs, water resources, the nutrition program, all of those tie into community and economic development. So Justin, I think, is going to create a great vision as far as linking all those things together and how you can really get actually more bang for your buck out of your extension dollars. Which we really appreciate.
Actually, you guys do pretty well with that anyway.
We do.
Yeah,
We take it to the next level.
as somebody who's tight-fisted, I think we all agree, you guys actually do very well with everything we ever kick in, so.
Thank you. Glad you appreciate our fiscal
Yeah.
responsibility. So, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Zen, and thank you for your work as an interim.
You're welcome.
I'm sure you're ready to move on.
It's been fun, but yeah, I have other things to do now.
You've done wonderful. Is there any other correspondence or organizational business to come before this body?
No, that's all.
Then we'll move on to item number 5, which is our open forum for citizens input. This is your opportunity to speak to the commission and the community about any issue that is not on the agenda. If it is on the agenda, we ask that you wait until it comes up, and you'll have an opportunity to testify, speak about it, or anything at that time. But if it's not on the agenda, this is your opportunity to come before us, talk to us, tell us about anything you want, make any comments you'd like, as long as they're friendly and gentle, and we treat each other with respect. And then bear in mind, though, that there's only 15 minutes total for this part of the presentation. 5 minutes per person is the maximum, so we ask that you please be brief. So with that being said, is there anybody in the audience today who would like to speak on something that is not on the agenda? Please.
Steve Bloomfield, 391 Southeast Down Road, Shelton, Washington. You know, I like to come to you with positives, and over the years, I've come to realize that there's people working for Mason County that are very quiet. You don't see them on a regular basis, but they're the glue that keeps us all together here in the county. And yesterday, Pat Grover came to talk about WSU and a project she's got with the noxious weed board. Terrible title. Wonderful person. Wonderful things she does on a very limited budget. But she's part of this community that does stuff behind the scenes, gets things accomplished without begging for a lot, and gives a lot of her own. I think Grace Miller in another department, she's there, been working for years, deserves a pat on the back. Casey Bingham, my God, Casey, you have to kick him to get 2 words out of him, but by golly, he's there. He does a great job in his department. He's a part of this community. Bonnie Cap over here. Bonnie's great. Absolutely behind the scenes doing things, doing jobs that's asked of her. Over the years when we didn't have a human resources director, she'd step in and fill the bill, and it was great. Absolutely above and beyond the call of duty. Becky Rogers, within your own department, she's a wonderful human being, and I just want to thank those people publicly for doing what they do, and recognize them a little bit for all of the things they do for us in this community. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you for
Appreciate
that. Yeah, I'd like to add, we agree with that. We had actually, I'm one of those people, when I came in, I thought we were going to have some big changes, stuff like that, but I latched on to all these competent ones that we had, and we have some extremely competent people that work here and knowing which ones. The sad part is, and there was a comment made between us, we can't take credit for it. They were here before we got here, so whoever was the one that hired some of these people, thank you for that, because it sure made our lives a lot easier. And believe me, we do have some extremely competent people here. There are always going to be people that are not. It's just the way it works, but we have some good ones. Please.
Morning, Commissioners. My name is Charles Ortman. This is my first appearance position. Not an arraignment. I'm guilty. I will plead guilty. I'm kind of fond of this PCP that I'll put on the map.
Thank you.
Send a letter out. I'll send a letter out at the end of this week. I'll give you a copy for you to review. Asking the governor to give us some consideration on the National Academy of Sciences Transportation for Innovation Award. And that's a scholarly journal. There's also another branch of the award called the NDTA. And actually, when I did my research, I discovered that there's even an ROTC medal available for innovative design, and with the kids participating at the beginning with the presentation of the colors that they might even be qualified. I'd like to ask you, Commissioner, if you would lend your autograph on this. Not a signature at this point, but maybe in the future for me. And we'll send these letters off, and the letters can be self-explanatory. And this project is completed, maybe we can find a place to play it. Consistent with an anniversary celebration or possibly even a reunion. Anyway, thank you very much for your time.
It's funny because I helped him to get some of the signatures. He had asked for mine at the time. I thought it was a joke. Why would you want mine? I see why. No, but I see why though. With what you're trying to accomplish, to mark down history for that particular day, and that makes sense. But no, I literally thought, why would anybody want mine? That makes no sense at all.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to tell you. Kind of reminded me of days as a high school quarterback. I follow my blockers and
follow a 400-pound man. He'll get you through. I took it through the governor and stuff to get it. Thank you very much. Yes, please.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
This is my first time here too, that is an arraignment. And also I agree with.
Guilty. No, just kidding.
A lot of good people are in Mason County, and that's why I care about Mason County. My name is Wes Martin. I'm a Greatview resident. I'm a business owner, and I also serve on the Greatview School Board. But I'm only here as a citizen with my own personal opinion about an issue that I've been hearing about, and would just like to kind of say a few words about. And really what I want to speak about is the issue of lack of transparency with the public union contract negotiations. I know there's quite a controversy surrounding the issue, and really, frankly, I'm at a loss to understand why. There's such a polarizing difference in perspectives and opinions. It seems to me that any negotiations with a public collective bargaining agreement should be completely open to the citizenry and have crystal clear transparency. When our tax dollars are being used to support a public union and its members, then it stands to reason that those folks providing those tax dollars should have the right to know how the contracts are negotiated and how the money is spent. And then conversely, every union member who are also taxpayers and citizens should have the right to know how they're being represented, how their interests are being represented through the contract negotiations. So it stands to reason that the concept of transparency seems to make sense to me, anyway, in my humble opinion. And I think it's a win-win for all the stakeholders involved. I'm not actually asking the commission to do anything. I'm just saying that I've heard a lot about the issue, and I don't quite understand, why the controversy exists. And so I'd like you to, kind of mull around and think about it and let it soak in your brain. Anyway, thanks for your time.
Thank you for coming in
Yeah,
today.
appreciate it.
Tom?
Morning, Commissioners. Tom Davis, 170 West Bushy Road. On the other side of that issue, that was something. This open negotiations and transparency, as it's put, was set before the City Commission at one time from the Freedom Foundation. There is a very good reason why you don't openly negotiate in the public view with your unions. And I am an advocate of transparency, so for me to get up here and tell you this, I have to have a pretty damn good reason. You don't want to be privy, the public should not be privy to those particular negotiations. That's your job. That's why we elect you. We entrust you with that power to negotiate as prudent a deal and as reasonable a deal with the community in mind and with the objective of local government in mind. That's your job. So I fully give that to you as a member of the public. If I disagree with you, you will hear from me loudly about this. But there's some things that are better left out of the public view until those negotiations are over. I can understand the opposing point of view at the same time, but my gut tells me that there's a larger agenda at stake here than just this. And having done a little research myself with the particular organizations that are promoting this, I don't really think that this is their end objective. I think it's something greater, which I have a strong opposition to. So, just addressing this particular issue, I give that to your discretion, that you will do a good job. And I think so far you have done a pretty good job. It's a very, very slippery slope, because you have to give people what they're worth. The worker must get what they're worth, otherwise they will leave. You see that time and time again. You see Mason County used as a training ground where we put forth all the effort, time, money, and then they go somewhere else to make 50 bucks more or whatever they make somewhere else. So it's not something, you have to be very sophisticated in your negotiations. I think you have done so. I think your department heads tell you what needs to be done, and you have all the information to make the right decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else who would wish to speak at this moment on any issue that is not on the agenda? Hearing none, we will go ahead and move on to item number 6, which is the adoption of the agenda.
Mr. Chair, I move that we adopt the agenda as presented.
Mr. Chairman, I'll second the motion.
It has been moved and seconded for the adoption of the agenda as presented. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye, the motion carries. Item number 7, approval of the minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the Board of County Commissioners approve the March 30, 2015 briefing minutes and the April 7th, 2015 regular meeting minutes.
I'll second.
It has been moved and seconded for the approval of the March 30th, 2015 briefing minutes and the April 7th, 2015 regular meeting minutes as presented. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye, the motion carries. Next, we move on to our action agenda. Approval of the action agenda. All items are listed on the action agenda will be enacted by one motion unless a commissioner or citizen requests an item be removed from the action agenda and considered as a separate item. After we read it to everybody in the public, you'll be given an opportunity to ask a question that will help you to decide whether or not to have it taken off the agenda. But if you actually want to testify or have a comment you want to make, we ask that you have it taken off for a separate vote, and we'll be given an opportunity to testify at that time. With that being said, Commissioner Sheldon, will you read item number 8.1 and through 8.4? I will read 8.5 through 8.8, and Commissioner Jeffries 8.9 through 8.12.
All right, can you hear, can our guests there in the meeting,
They
can you hear me well enough over this?
Yeah, they probably hear you louder than us.
Okay. 8.1, Mr. Chairman, approval for the chair to sign certification of match forms for the Coulter Creek Park project with the Washington State Recreation and Conservation Office, RCO. 8.2, approval to set a public hearing for Tuesday, May 5 at 9:30 a.m. to consider approval of a resolution to sell surplus property located at 420 East Panorama Drive. And that is parcel 32021-56-01032 for $4,800. 8.3, approval for the chair to sign real estate listing forms for multiple listings. And item 8.4, approval of warrants, claims clearing fund, warrants number 8021688 through 8021961 in the amount of $1,342,956.81. Salary clearing fund warrant numbers 7,958 through 7,996 in the amount of $839,600.63. And direct deposit fund warrant numbers 21321 through 21709 in the amount of $566,706.87. And that's for a total of $2,749,277.31. Claims clearing year-to-date total is $11,049,358.73. The salary clearing year-to-date total is $4,981,917.36. And finally, the direct deposit year-to-date total is $4,719,127.92.
Thank you, Commissioner. Item number 8.5, approval to reappoint Gary Minor to fill a 3-year term on the Mason County Board of Equalization, which will end May 31st, 2018. Item number 8.6, approval of the Veterans Assistance Fund applications for food, $300, utilities, $1,102.60, and housing, $1,400 for a total of $2,802.60, as recommended by the Veterans Service Office. Item number 8.7, approval to send the 2 draft Belfair financial plans to the State Auditor's Office for review. Item number 8.8, approval of the resolution revising Resolution 59-14 establishing lane limits for traffic control at Hilboki, Gosnell Creek, and Ike Road, Ike and Carlson Bridge, and maximum load limits on Rossmeyer. Come on, guys, give me some easier names next time. 40 tons, and Stretch Island Bridge at 28 tons.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Item 8.9, approval of the resolution to execute Road Project 2001, Homer Adams Road, I got the easy one, Decker Creek, and authorizing the chair to sign all pertinent documents and authorize the Public Works County Engineer to advertise, set bid dates, times, and award contract. The contract will be announced during a regular meeting of the board. 8.10, Approval of the interlocal agreement between Mason County Public Works and Washington State Department of Natural Resources, DNR. This agreement will allow Public Works to provide maintenance, engineering, and traffic count services, emergency assistance, and fabrication of signs and materials requested by Washington State DNR. 8.11, approval for the board to execute the loan agreement number 2 to grant/loan L1200025/L12S0025, the Belfair Wastewater and Water Reclamation Facility Get Connected Phase Project, decreasing the original loan amount by $126,003.23 based on final eligible costs for the project. Finally, 8.12, approval of the resolution amending Resolution 08-95, increasing the hourly compensation for Superior Court miscellaneous and domestic violence, anti-harassment, stalking court commissioners to $60 per hour. Their salary was set on January 24th, 1995 at $50 per hour.
Excellent, thank you very much. With that being read into the record, now comes your opportunity to ask a question on any of the items that are on there that would help you to decide whether to take it off for a separate vote. But again, if you want to discuss it or have a testimony, please wait and have it taken off for a separate vote. With that being said, any questions? Tom?
Mr. Chair, 8.7 for a separate vote, please.
For a separate vote. Are there any questions that anybody has? Hearing no questions, are there any items that you would like taken off for a separate vote? 8.7 is already taken off. Commissioner Sheldon, do you have any questions or items you want taken off?
Just the 8.7.
8.7, I have a question after Tom. Is that okay?
No, we're taking off for a separate vote. You'll be given an opportunity to talk at that time.
Okay, you're sending the 2 drafts over to the auditor at the state?
If it passes, but
Okay.
we'll bring that up separately.
Okay.
Thank you. Are there any other items we want taken off for a separate vote? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion for the approval of the action agenda minus item number 8.7.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the Board of County Commissioners approve all the items on the action agenda today except item 8.7.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded for the approval of all the items on the action agenda with the exclusion of item number 8.7, which will be taken off for a separate vote. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye, the motion carries. Item number 8.7, approval to send 2 draft Belfair sewer plans to the State Auditor's Office for review. Frank's not here, so what this is, to answer your question, we've done a lot of homework and a lot of work in trying to take care of some of the issues that we have that has created a finding with the Auditor's Office. And what's before us today is not the adoption of a plan, but just the pushing forward of 2 plans. One that is based on all the work that we've done through the committees and the like, but the other one is the same plan with the addition of $1.5 million that may come into the county from the efforts of Commissioner Sheldon and Olympia. With that being said, I want to clarify and add that if you looked at this before, the paperwork you have in front of you today is a little bit different. There is an inclusion of a line that says incentives excludes Phase 1 properties currently required but not hooked up. So if you are currently required and not hooked up, you are excluded from any benefit that could be received. But again, we're not pushing through the plan. That's just in this at the time for what's being sent to the auditor to have her do the calculations and see if it's even workable. Because the truth of the matter is, regardless of all this, if the auditor thinks it's not workable and it doesn't pay out, we have to figure something else out. With that being said, is there any testimony or?
Well, Mr. Chairman, is there still time for questions?
Sure. If you want to, yeah, go ahead.
Question. So I was in yesterday, and I have a copy of a plan here, Mason County Board of County Commissioners. It's dated April 21. So I don't have a copy of the second plan. Has that been distributed to the public?
The second plan.
So, Mr. Chair, I think that perhaps the proposed motion on the approval for item 8.7, it refers to 2 draft plans because we had asked for a second plan to be developed in anticipation of potentially receiving these capital funds money. I think that when we move this motion, we should probably amend it to just say the plan, because that has been, Sheldon, that has been actually incorporated as an option in the existing plan. If you look at the last page before the conclusion,
Okay, I'm looking at the last page.
right before the conclusion, the paragraph before that refers to the other option, should we receive the capital budget monies.
Yes, okay, let's see, what paragraph, the last paragraph under conclusion.
No,
before, I can read it to you, Commissioner. If the Washington State Legislature budget includes,
I see it, okay. Okay, now, a couple things about this. By including this, you say reducing debt service, and this is what the appropriation is for rate relief. And then quoting from the plan here, it says, or use it to supplement cash flows needed for the construction of Phase 2 if allowed by the legislature. I don't think that should be included because that's not the intent of the appropriation. The intent of the appropriation is for debt service relief for expenditures that have already been made.
so would you like that line stricken?
I wouldn't.
I think it should be.
Okay. And we'll handle that as a motion here in a moment, if you don't mind.
Okay.
And we'll go through any other questions on this first before we go to that one?
Yes, the second question. You just mentioned to the public that there is an option for hookups that is different than this plan.
No, what I read was, and you may not have it in front of you, I know it was sent to you.
Yeah, he's got it.
Oh, no, the only thing that I mentioned was if you had looked at the plan before, having the new one, there is an inclusion of another line that was not in the other plans, or the other papers that were being considered. And the line reads, incentives excludes Phase 1 properties currently required but not hooked up, such as mine. Otherwise, those properties are not eligible for any of that reduction if this was to even pass. Remember, this is not passed. None of this is passed. Any of the things we're talking about is just whether or not to send this off to the auditor for her review and to see if that she finds it to work within the parameters she needs in order to perhaps release us from a finding if we put it into action. Because it still would take a lot more to put anything into action. We have to change the code. We have to do, it could be several months.
Okay, so where do I see that in this plan that I have in front of me? Is that included?
If you have the same paper, it'll be under, what page is that?
It would be the second page of the actual narrative.
Under principal tenets of the plan.
Middle of the page, second bullet, last sentence.
Just a second. So this would be on the third page.
Yes, technically the third page, the first one, the
Principal
picture.
tenants.
Yes.
I see. Incentive excludes Phase 1 properties currently required but not hooked up. That's where it is. So, my understanding, there's 4 properties that are not hooked up.
I think so.
Does this exclusion apply to all 4 properties or just your property?
All 4 properties.
All 4 properties. Well, that's pretty unusual to have this in there, I think. But
Well, again, this is not the plan. This is just part of the formula we're sending forward. There'll be more discussion when the time comes, I guess, for any structured actual plan and going into codes. And this does none of that. This is just the plan, the financial plan to send forward to see if the numbers would match from the auditor to release us from our findings.
my take on this is that, Mr. Chairman, you could not vote on this plan unless this exclusion is in it. Is that correct?
Okay. Let's say you're right. I don't know that for a fact, no, but it is in there right now, so.
So the Netherland exclusion here is included so that you can vote on this plan.
Well, first of all, we're not voting on a plan, Commissioner. We're voting to move something forward.
Voting to send a plan, right? You're voting to send
Yeah,
a
we're
plan.
voting to send the plan.
But this exclusion would be
Yeah, I don't know that, remember, we had those discussions before, and it would have to be a specific benefit only to me, not to the region and all of them. But either way, it doesn't matter. This doesn't change any of that.
Thank you.
Okay? Is there any other questions in regards to the plan? Or sending it forward to the auditor, excuse me. Yes?
Is that, the plan covers, phase 2, 3, and 4.
And phase one, it still covers everything.
Okay, my question being predicated on that, does phase 2, 3, and 4 have to be 100% sold out or hooked up to make everything work?
Well, there's a lot of properties there that don't even have houses or anything on it. I know that the overall plan is the idea that they will all be hooked up within 10 years. But again, this is only the structure of it. Anything like that would be a code change, and it's a whole separate meeting. You know, it takes a lot more to change the law than it does to create a financial plan.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I have another one, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
If no one I can't see if anyone in the public has a question, let them go ahead, but I have another
No,
one.
go ahead.
Okay, the third page, I guess it is, they're not numbered, but the interfund bond terms down at the bottom will be, and then there's some principal, which I assume that's the AL principal, interest, and then term. How is this bond going to be repaid? Where's the repayment?
The repayment would be done through the monies that we have in the system, the monies coming in from customers and the like, and hookups and the like, and would include interest only for 5 years on one and 10 years on another. But again, this is just pushing, we're just agreeing whether to send forward the plan. To actually do an interfund bond is going to take a lot more effort, and it still has to be structured and created. It has not been structured or created. We're putting forward a plan for the auditor to review.
Well, but if I was sending a plan, and I'm very reluctant to vote on sending this plan to the auditor, it does not even have a bullet or a mention of repayment.
Yes, it does, sir. Underneath, when you look at the back page and the actual structure, it does show the payments going back to the county and how that is structured.
Where's that, on what page?
On the spreadsheet.
All right, well, I wasn't given a spreadsheet yesterday, but I'll take your word for it. So you have repayment in there.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, in the 4-page plan.
Yeah, and it was in the original sewer plans that you had as well, and it shows right now a few differences when it comes to the repayment of it. Let me see if I can find it. For example, under additional loan costs, it'd be interest only, so you're looking at $20,430 for like 5 years, and then we would readjust and look at the rates, and we're going for the higher case scenario, so then the payments would increase to $44,000 at that point, and then there'd be a balloon payment of $1,362,000 at the 10 or 11 year mark. The same thing goes with a boss payout, $16,500 for 5 years with a $1,100,000 or $100,000 balloon payment at the end.
Okay, the county hookup program, right? The plan here says that will be repaid at 85%. Is that what we're getting now?
Yes.
And the 15% of the people that receive that assistance are not repaying?
Well, right now, he just has the 85% is the amount that is being paid back, so that would mean there's some deficiency, some late payments, some. Frank has joined us now. Would you like to address that, Frank?
Frank Fisher, Budget Manager. The current delinquency rate is about 85%, so the plan takes that into consideration. In prior discussions, there have been conversation in regards to implementing a program that addresses those delinquencies and puts into code what those options might be. At the moment, the only program we have available is to put a lien against the property.
I'm sorry, Frank, I missed that. The delinquency rate right now is what percent?
delinquency is about 15%.
Okay, thank you.
So, and that's what the plan assumes will be paid through the term of the plan. But with code changes and the opportunities to pursue delinquencies through follow-up collection processes, that would take a code change, and that would require, and that would allow for a higher recovery rate.
And that would be we have to, that goes to the planning commission, 2 weeks notice, say, for, just like the same thing for any code adjustment. Right now, though, again, it's just in the plan for what's currently happening.
And Commissioner Sheldon, just to address your prior question in regards to the prepayments, under the options section on page 4, the indented section, there is a prepayment of the internal fund bond in 2020 and then the balance in 2026.
Okay, I see that.
Yeah, so it's identified in the text
both.
as well as on the spreadsheet as a function of the plan model.
Thank you, Frank.
As an option.
As an option, exactly.
Yeah, because if the money doesn't come, then
What happens if you don't have, don't have the money?
then the other plan is already structured to take all that into account. That option is what could occur that would make the plan even better if you're able to pull that off.
Okay, well, it's, I'll reserve a comment there, thank you.
Okay. Is there, yes,
One last question. You're going to present the plan to Ms. April Taylor, the auditor, is that correct? Okay, if Mr. Kelly happens to come back,
It has-
he's in the wind right now for the state auditor. Can he have his prerogative to shoot it down?
I doubt that Mr. Kelly had ever seen any of our plans. He is not, that is not his job. So I can't tell you for sure what Mr. Kelly would do if he came back or if he did not come back. But the chance that he actually has ever seen any of our plans would be a surprise.
Has Mr. Sontag seen any of them?
Well, no,
Why
again,
don't you send it to him?
yeah, everybody, all the state agency, all of us are audited. It's a constant thing for every entity, every governmental entity. Are there any other questions? Tom?
For the public record, Frank, could you just give a very broad overview on what the plan is in terms of the internal bond and where the monies are going to come from, because so the public hears it right out of the budget record now.
The overall plan is to utilize an internal fund bond, which is to take funding that the county has invested in the state pool and put it, purchase the bond and put the proceeds into the welfare sewer. Using those proceeds, we're going to go to the Department of Ecology to ask for grants and or forgivable loans in order to be able to acquire somewhere in a range of about $10,500,000 worth of funding to do the construction of the extension trunk lines for phases 2, 3, and 4. Phase 2 immediately, phase 3 and 4 as timing and or necessity and expansion needs dictate. Using those funds then allow the 10-year period for the customers to then hook up to that sewer trunk line that will be expanded to their property lines. Using a incentive program to reduce the CFC rate to $5,000 from the $10,200 currently, to incentivize them to hook up earlier than later, and get the additional 400 expected ERUs into the welfare sewer program. The financial feasibility of the debt service repayment out of welfare sewer requires a broader base of customers, or an expansion of the base of customers that currently the welfare sewer doesn't have.
Where will the repayment money come from?
From the CSE charges, from the monthly ERU charges, and those revenues will then generate enough funding for the loan payments as well as to maintain a positive cash balance in the welfare sewer individual fund.
In addition to the 09 and the refunds?
That would need to be maintained as a funding source.
Right, okay, thank you.
Yeah, the 09 is projected to be roughly 425,000, and the REIT 2 is 150,000. And both of those are projected to feasibly be able to sustain that kind of funding into Belfair. So the projections show that there should be enough funds in those accounts to be able to support that.
Are there any other questions? Bob?
Yeah, my question is for Tim Sheldon. I'd just like to know why you're pushing back so hard on any kind of a plan to stabilize the Belfair sewer system. In my opinion, time is of the essence. I know there is development waiting to happen once we get a plan in place.
Bob, if you'll hold off, I'd rather you, if you don't mind, I'd rather you do that as testimony and...
Okay.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I'd like a chance to answer here. I think I get what you're saying, Bob, and really what it sounds like is I've got a used car for sale, and if you don't buy it tonight, it'll change the price tomorrow. Let's just do it right away. I'm concerned that we're not having public input. You've been here for public input, Bob, but where's the general public that's in Belfair? Are they listening? Are they hearing about this issue? And I'm concerned about that. I'm also concerned about who is going to pay for the growth in Belfair. Under this plan, the county
Commissioner Sheldon?
is paying
Commissioner,
for the trunk lines.
Commissioner, I need to ask you the same thing as I did Bob. Please wait until testimony to make testimony.
Well, I was asked a question.
I know, and I stopped him on that, and I gave you an opportunity to go for a while, but if your testimony, please wait, and we'll handle testimony at the end also. With that being said, are there any other questions before we move into testimony? Any other questions? Hearing none, thank you very much, Frank.
Well, the question I have, Mr. Chairman, is why doesn't growth pay for growth? The plan assumes that we, the county, the taxpayers, are going to put in the trunk lines out to the far reaches of this massive urban growth area and reach all the existing houses. What about the developer that wants to develop a piece of property? He's just allowed to hook up to these taxpayer-funded trunk lines and sell lots?
Are you asking that question of me, Commissioner?
How does growth pay for growth in this plan?
Are you asking that question of me, Commissioner?
Of the commission, maybe both of you could weigh in on it. How does growth pay for growth in this plan?
Okay, well...
I'll be happy to at the discussion period.
Okay, we'll handle that at the discussion period. All right, hear anything more? Is there any other questions? Then we'll move on to testimony. Is there anybody who would like to testify and give their opinion in regards to this issue at this time from the audience? Please.
Thank you, Commissioners. Tom Davis again. This is not a political issue. This is an economic issue, and it would be in our best interest to keep this on an economic discussion basis. This is taking a very bad plan and making it as acceptable as possible in terms of funding for that original plan. So this is not the best plan in the world. We don't know what the best plan in the world is that's available to us, but it's a pretty good plan. In this plan, and it's simplified to be sure, are the answers to all the questions being asked. If you look at the plan, and you read it from cover to cover, and it's 4 pages in the spreadsheet, you will understand what we're trying to do here, what we're asking the auditor to do here. And the purpose of this agenda item is to put this information in front of the auditor and get their expert advice on whether or not this is a good plan, it's a feasible plan, it's a workable plan in the long term, it's a sustainable plan. That's what they're going to do. That's one of the reasons we got the finding, is we didn't have a plan. This is a plan. So we bring this to the auditor will, assume they won't just check off on it and say, oh, you know, this is brilliant. They might, you know, assume they're gonna have some suggestions. But the point is that all the information is here. Now, if you're gonna get into a theoretical discussion, as I see this conversation going, we're gonna have a very, very long meeting. This is a plan that I think is very innovative. I think it's also the only plan on the table. There's no other viable plan that I've seen, that I've heard coming from the commissioners, coming from the budget manager, coming from anywhere. This is what we have. So if this is the only one on the table, and the clock is ticking because there is 2 findings that need to be addressed, then maybe we need to pursue this. And maybe we need to bring it up to the next level. I support the fact that this is the first step in a lengthy plan. And originally, when we were going to bond this debt out about 18 months ago, we were looking at $14 million, and we would have been delighted to get 2.5%. Here we're looking at a much lesser amount at a much lesser interest rate. In an instrument that I didn't even know existed. I didn't even know it was a possibility until then. So I applaud that. I applaud that this is on the table. I would wait now to see what the auditor says before we carry on into discussion, simply because they have the expertise, and I think that's what we need to do, is put the information before them, get the feedback, see if there's going to be adjustments made, and then move down the process. But to not give this to the auditor at this time would be foolish, because it's the only thing we have in the future to pay back this enormous debt. And we are growing our way out of this. That's the purpose of this. That's what this plan addresses, because it wasn't this commission that stopped everything dead. This is a plan that a debt that we must grow our way out of. And this plan addresses that debt so we can do so. So on this face value, it's worthy. Whether it's completely workable, let's wait and see what the auditor says. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Any other citizens wish to comment at this time? Bob Harris, please.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm Bob Harris. I live off the North Shore Road in Belfair, and I have property in the Belfair UGA. I'm a ratepayer. Growth will pay for growth. I believe that's exactly what this plan will do. Nobody in Belfair is asking for a handout. We don't want the county. We don't want a county handout. We're willing to pay our own way. This plan actually stabilizes the Belfair sewer system, and it does encourage development. There is development there waiting to happen, but you can't expect them to throw any money on the ground unless they know how much they're going to be throwing out there. They want to know what the sewage rates are going to be. They want to make sure that they're not going to escalate a lot in the very near future. That's just common sense. Our water rates have stabilized, so we've got water stabilized. We need to stabilize sewers. This plan enables the Belfair UGA ratepayers to pay their own way. We're going to pay our own way out because we're going to get development. It helps to get the taxpayers, the Mason County taxpayers, off the hook. Simply stated, we can build our own way out of this. It's as simple as that. We have a very expensive sewer system that is just enabling itself to run right now because it's got minimum input. It's an expensive system that needs to be put to work. As Tom mentioned, this is a very conservative plan. It's not spending millions and millions of dollars on infrastructure. It's a very simple, low-pressure, low-cost system that will enable developers, homeowners, and anyone who wants to come into Belfair to develop. I think it's very important that we don't wait around for a disaster. I live there, I know what's going on. If we fiddle around, Belfair's liable to burn. And what happens in Belfair may have a lot to do with what happens in Mason County. It would be nice to see all 3 commissioners working together to resolve this problem. The plan being presented is quite unique, but it's the only one we got, and it will work if we can get the cooperation of everyone in Mason County. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Anybody else, any other citizens wish to testify at this time? Steve Bloomfield.
If I can get up. Yeah, Steve Bloomfield. A concern I have is and have had for a while, is the continued use of .09 money for funding this. I think it's a tortured interpretation of usage to some degree. Commercial development, absolutely, that's what it's for. When it comes to the existing housing areas and whatnot, I do not believe that that's within the intent of the law. And it should be approached with caution and making sure that those .09 funds are directed in a proper manner to get to where they should be used and not into existing housing areas. That can be achieved, and fully supportive of that. I'm in support of sending this plan off, a plan. We need to do that. We can't flaunt the auditor's recommendation or demand. Let's get on with life there. And this problems existed prior to any of the commissioners that are sitting here now, prior to Tim. We blew it years ago, and we're having a hard time making that up now. Let's get on with life and look to the future and forget about that past. And let's send this plan on, but caution's a watchword with that .09 money.
Just to address that for a half a second, though, you know, as you know, though, it's already been proven for the most part that it is used for that. We use it currently now for the Shelton sewer system, and this is a current use that's already been there for the '09. But the beauty of this whole thing is the one who will make that determination is the auditor. And so we'll send it to the auditor. If the auditor finds that it does not meet that interpretation, we'll hear about it, and that's why we're sending everything to the auditor now.
And I think, and Senator Sheldon, I'll call him Senator today because he's in Olympia, Commissioner Senator Sheldon is fully aware that rural economic development is not very well supported within the urban cities. And unfortunately, they are the driving force of the state. And all we have to do is get crosswise with them in some level, and we would lose it completely. And to do that would be a disaster at this stage.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to testify at this time? Hearing none, we will close the testimony and move into commissioner deliberations. Actually, we're not in a hearing, so it sure feels like one today, though. Okay, Commissioner, now is your time if you'd like to go ahead and speak your piece.
Mr. Chairman, just to mention one thing that was maybe a correction here, that the money that the .09 funds are used for with the Shelton sewer system is not for the operation of the system. It was for the extension of the line out to Johns Prairie.
Yep.
And that was part of the bond that we have and part of the '09 monies are used for that, and it's been going on for, I want to say, eight or 9 years, something like that. I think it's a 20-year bond.
It's not a bond, but it's a 20-year...
A loan, I think.
Not a loan either, it's a 20-year payment.
But it doesn't go for operations. Yeah. It was for the construction of that line so that we could have more economic growth in the urban growth area.
Yes. Any other testimony, Commissioner?
Well, I've got a couple other things I'd like to say, but
well, now,
I'll make sure.
Now's your time.
You can hear me. Okay. I haven't seen any engineering for the phase 2. Now, I've asked that at about 2 or 3 different meetings. I'd like to see some preliminary engineering of what this low pressure, unquote, system is going to do and how it will work. I think that the $1.5 million in the capital budget, in the Senate capital budget, which has been voted on by the 49 members here, hopefully stays in the budget that is under deliberation right now and then is signed by the governor. So that's $1.5 million. There's a mention of that in this plan, but nothing for how that money would be used for rate relief and how it would change the numbers that are growing areas. That's a big thing. And when the sewer system was planned, the governor, Norm Dix, Congress, everyone was very excited about the benefits that it would bring to water quality. So I think the state has a continuing obligation to help Belfair with its small population base, the UGA. As you mentioned, there's less than 1,000 people in that UGA that to bear the brunt of this, because it's a body of water of statewide significance. Only 2 bodies of water in the state are classified that way, the Hood Canal and I believe Lake Chelan. So I'm real concerned about jumping on a plan that we may change very quickly. I think that should be in part of it, that the appropriation is still waiting on the governor's signature, the full vote of the legislature and the governor's signature. And I'm concerned that we haven't had any public input on this. Now, at the last meeting we had in Belfair a couple weeks ago on the 5th Tuesday, it was mentioned, I believe, that we should have some public input from the citizens that will ultimately pay these bills. And I'm concerned that we're jumping on a bandwagon of building right now into these second phases and third phases when the population base is very, very low. So I'm just concerned that we don't have enough information to present a plan yet to the auditor. And I'd like to delay that for a while we get more information on this $1.5 million and listen to the public and see what their input is. We've had the input, I think, from many of the developer community in Belfair, but I'd like to hear from people that live in existing developments how they would feel about an extension of the sewer to their property and how much it will cost them individually, not only to hook up but to decommission their present systems. There's also talk, and I don't think it was in the plan, of extending to Beards Cove and some of the areas that are limited areas of more intense development, Lamrids. That would be a very big step that I think should be fully vetted by the public and have their input. When the system was in its planning stages, we did have public meetings out of some of the schools out there. We had other input, open houses. I think it's important that the public is in sync with what the commission is doing here. Thank you.
Commissioner Jeffries?
Thank you. So Dwight Eisenhower once said that plans are useless, but planning is indispensable. And I like that approach, thinking about the fact that we are going to go on an annual review process of how this plan is performing. Each year won't tell us exactly whether we're getting the type of growth we'd like. There's a trend data, but I think we need to keep in context that this plan has built-in flexibility. I want to thank Commissioner Netherland and the Belfair Sewer Advisory Committee and Frank Pintner for the hours and hours and hours of work you've put on this. It's true that we need to have a plan to the auditor to have the finding lifted, number one. And number two, we need to at least have some sort of plan to go forward. Commissioner Sheldon, I appreciate your concern about not having public input, but I think it does no use for us to do that if it's not something that can be approved. I think our number one priority is get the finding lifted, make sure that we've got the plan in place that would at least get us in the right, on the right track with them, and then go to the public and see if there's places that can be tweaked within some of the auditor's comments and findings. The key components I like about this plan is it does acknowledge the reality that we have to grow out of the problem, and that it prioritizes expansion of the system that will incentivize that growth that we need, that will lift that our de facto moratorium, and I do like the flexibility of the plan. I believe growth does pay for itself. I think that governmental entities' responsibility is to incentivize that growth. We have very few incentives, and one of the most important ones we have, especially as a county government, is to put the infrastructure in place. Once that's in place, then you've got the building and the construction and the growth that is going to go feed back into the monies that are going to feed back into this, such as .09 and REIT 2 monies. Not to mention the expansion of the property tax base. I think that this community has suffered for a long time because of this belief that we have to ask the developer to put every piece of infrastructure in. And as a result, we've seen nothing happen in the city of Shelton, and we're in danger of seeing nothing happen in Belfair. We've got to play our part in this. And I think the trunk lines are a pretty darn simple way of doing that. One of the concerns I do have is that maybe we're over-assuming and a pretty heavy assumption that the Department of Ecology will have some grant monies for us. I have a big fear about that, but we'll cross that bridge and get down there and start talking to them. And Commissioner Sheldon, we're going to need your help down there as well as all our other legislators in the 35th District. And I'm concerned that our assumptions of the cost of expansion of the system are a little bit underassumed, that they're going to go higher because, as we found, most construction projects cost a lot more than you think they are going to. And then finally, I believe I have spent probably 5 or 6 years studying the use of the .09 and the REIT 2 monies in another career. I think this is exactly what this money's for. Yes, there will be existing development that will benefit from it, but that'll be the side advantage. .09 monies are exactly for incentivizing growth. And you can't do that better than running a sewer line in an undeveloped area that is zoned for commercial development, zoned for industrial development, and zoned for housing development. Not to mention, you need housetops for commercial development. Every retailer will start counting rooftops and median income to see if this is where they're going to put their store. And unless we get the housetops in there, the rooftops in there, we're not going to see the kind of development we need to sustain not only the system, but the long-term future of Mason County's tax base and our services, our public safety, our criminal justice, and all the other services. We need to build our tax base, and we need to be on a trajectory of growth that is naturally occurring by the developers because, first of all, we're stuck on our property tax of not being able to increase over 1% per year, which doesn't even cover inflation, let alone our labor costs. Go off track. If I'm very much in favor of putting this forward and voting yes and put this forward to the auditors, see what, let them pick this apart, let them tell us where we need to tweak it, and then come back, readjust, and go to the public up there in the Belfair community and ask them, what do you think? I guarantee you we're going to hear a lot of, I don't want to pay us sewer bills, but guess what? That ship left the part a long time ago.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Sheldon, I wish you were here today so I could look you eye to eye when I'm going to say what I'm about to say. You know, as we sit here and have some of the discussions and the things that you're saying, it's very interesting to me that you try to put it on this commission and that we haven't talked to the committee. We're not. Where were you when you passed the regulations and the code saying that these people had to be hooked up? When you forced hookup for the whole UGA? That's not us. You did that. Or how about when they were required to be hooked up by 2017, that now that we have to do this, whether we want to or not?
I'll have to respond to you.
Yeah, I'll give you time. Let me do my thing first, and then you can kick my butt. Okay?
Mr. Chairman, the Growth Management Hearings Board forced that upon us.
No, and again, I'll disagree with you on that completely too. But on top of that, there's a lot more to it than that. Because where were you when we had a plan set up to even do that, and your community was begging you to be careful on how you did it at 22 to 24 million, and then you bring in another company, CH2M Hill, to take it over, and then it goes to 50 million and only hooks up the small trunk. You know, these are things that you had decided. Accepted grants that said we were going to have it built by 2017, and you accepted grants and went after grants saying that we're going to get 1,800 sewer septic systems when we only have 963 people in the UGA. You know, we have to account for those things, and that's why the moratorium, that's why it's all been closed off. And as we're talking about the plan on whether or not to sit on it any longer, Commissioner, for 3 years before we got our first finding, the auditor said to you, you have a broken plan. It told you that this county was in trouble, and you didn't listen to him then you got a finding, and we still didn't listen in time, so we got a second finding. This is the opportunity to get us out of the trouble that you created, sir. So please don't blame this commission as we're trying to clean up your mess. Now you can go ahead and kick my butt.
Mr. Chairman, I'm not interested in running you down. I'm not interested in putting blame on others. I'm interested in solving a long-term problem that we have here. And this urban growth area is extremely large, extremely large. That's what the public wanted when it was put together. Everybody, big landowners wanted to be in. We looked for money. I found $15 million initially in 2005. Now another $1.5 million. I think there is, as I said before, I think there is other state money that could be obtained because of the water quality improvements that are made because of a sewer system. And you and I know that you dig 1 or 2 feet down in Belfair, you're going to find water. So we have an issue with that. A community that was built on a very, very high water table. But I just believe that it's time to look for some solutions that we all can buy in on. And I've raised this point before, Mr. Chairman. To be a leader, I think you have to be paying the bill just like everyone else. And I'm upset that we have this special clause in here, basically, that incentives are available, but not available to the 4 people that haven't hooked up, 4 entities that haven't hooked up. It's time that you hook up, Mr. Chairman. I'm just going to say that right out. I think it's time that you hook up in order to lead on this issue, which you want to do. So that's all I have to say right now.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm ready to make a motion.
Okay. Let me just clarify. I agree with you, Commissioner. I would love to hook up, and as soon as I'm not needed to protect my community for the damage you did in the first place, I'm more than happy to, and I intend to as soon as we get an actual plan in place. I don't even need to wait for a code or anything else. And I don't know if you know this, but all the things when originally the commission accused me of lying when I brought forward saying you guys hooked up into my property and took my property and that of my neighbors by 15 feet or so. It has been proven now. We have a letter from the county. They had a survey and they found that it was done 3 times on my property, not once, 3 times, 17 feet deep. So sitting there and protesting actions done. I would never begrudge anybody that. I definitely would never begrudge you the ability to protest and protect your property and your community. But I do intend to hook up, and I'm hoping I can as soon as possible. I'm not a fool. I could have hooked up at $3,000, and now it's going to cost me $10,000. How does that sound like I'm taking advantage of my county?
Mr. Chairman, I'm gonna have to go out on the floor and vote here on a bill. So if you vote on this, I'd appreciate it.
Okay, we'll take the motion.
Mr. Chair, I'd move that we send, and I'm going to alter this motion on the agenda. I'm going to send the draft Belfair Sewer Financial Plan to the State Auditor's Office for review.
Is there a second? I will second that motion. It's been moved and seconded for approval to send forward this draft plan to the State Auditor for review, and hopefully their approval. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye? Opposed?
Yes, no.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I've got to go out on the floor.
Okay. All right, we will move on to item, there is no public hearing. I don't know, folks, was that worth the cost of admission? I apologize on how sometimes this stuff works. We'll move on to item number 10, which is other business, department heads, and elected officials. Are there any department heads who would like to speak at this time? Any elected officials? Hearing none, we will go ahead and move to board reports and calendars. I didn't get Commissioner Sheldon's calendar, but go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to have to,
I can do mine in short form if you want to.
why don't you go ahead?
Okay, last week, Hood Canal Coordinating Council, people with looking on issues when it comes to the sewer, another developer for multifamily housing. I'm actually starting to get nervous, Commissioner, because there's beginning to be so many of them. I worry about a saturation instead
Of what?
of people looking to build for multifamily housing and buying property, looking to buy property for that.
I'll get a permit, don't get nervous.
I know, but this is actually pretty interesting. And then there's the EDC is putting out have an open house to bring in more developers, and at some point, it is a little bit nervous.
I hope our local builders will be there too to
Yeah.
network.
Well, some of the local builders are the first ones on board, and I think that the first money is the smart money. With that being said, we also had North Mason Chamber of Commerce board meeting. I attended the Ledge Day down at in Olympia, and again spent the day down there lobbying on behalf of all of our county's issues. Then we had a legislative steering committee reception for the elected officials to do the same thing the night before. West Sound Alliance working still to try and solidify some of the transportation issues. It looks like they're probably going to go into special session, but at the same time they're talking about bringing that with it. So then I had a meeting with the EPA in regards to funding for our habitat organizations, and then I had another meeting with the health services part of the Washington State Association of Counties. We had our regular briefings. I was on KMAS this morning. Next week, starting later on today, will be at Mason Transit Authority, North Mason Chamber of Commerce lunch, Legislative Steering Committee conference calls, stuff I can't read, quality of life meeting for the realtors, briefings, North Mason Community Voice, Democrat meetings they've invited me to, and another thing I can't read. So.
Following last week's commissioner meeting, I met with the president of our Veterans Advisory Board about some of the recommendations that may be coming forward. I had a meeting of the MACECOM 911 Dispatch Committee, Governing Committee, a criminal justice working team on Wednesday morning, and then a very productive meeting with Sheriff Salisbury and Under Sheriff Barrett on jail population management. I met with Patty Kleist with Faith in Action regarding energy assistance availability for some of the people in the North End. I took some time and went out of town to San Francisco at the end of the week. Let's see, we had briefings yesterday, and then I met with representatives from Congressman Kilmer's office, Patty Murray's office, Pew Charitable Trust, Whitewater Association, and one more.
Did they get you?
Organization on the white.
Did they get you?
I gotta find some people that are against Wild Olympics. I was on the Wild Olympics. I'm not quite sure what the objection is, in that these are lands that probably will never be forested anyway because of their location.
I'll share some of it. I had some of the same concerns some people did, but I got to admit, Congressman Kilmer changed the law a lot to allow for economic development still to continue, and for logging still to continue in the manner it has. And
actually, it'll beef up the logging in the areas outside the wilderness, which we really need, because we need to decommission those roads. I don't know if people know that, but the logging that happens in the upper Skoke pays for the decommissioning of the roads that are actually feeding all of the silt and gravel into the Skoke River, causing the flooding. So it'd be nice to kind of get that handled. Let's see, then this afternoon I will be working on calling legislators on a lot of issues, and then we have the Mason Transit Authority Board this afternoon, Hood Canal Coordinating Council Integrated Watershed Planning Group, and then Lewis Mason Thurston Area Agency on Aging, Mental Health Substance Abuse Advisory Committee. Thanks to Tom, we have a meeting. And then, let's see, I'll be attending the Sheriff's Breakfast on Friday morning, and then the commissioner representatives of the Pac Martin Workforce Development Council will meet here in the commission chambers. And then I just wanted to pass on a thank you and an acknowledgement to Vicki, to your staff members, Debbie Riley, we're always thanking Debbie, and water quality, septics. Cindy. So the realtors, some realtors had approached me and some bankers that they wanted online access to septic reports, maintenance reports. And we were going to have this big meeting and everything, and within 24 hours they started working on that, and I think it's up. They can do that now. So now we just need to get the word out to the communities that this is available, but just need to acknowledge that.
Somebody wanted to speak, but it's not on our agenda, so I can't allow for it. We're already past our agenda. I do want to add, though, that I was able to read one of them finally, and it is our county, our courthouse security meetings that I will be attending on that. I need to share something with the community and with you, because you will enjoy this. We had a Mason County, a mutual friend of ours, who was selected as our Mason County Realtor of the Year. Just found out that he was now selected as the Washington State Realtor of the Year, is now a Mason County Realtor. And, you know, people, being a county commissioner, you gotta understand the realtors are actually very political. And they have a political agenda and lean where they are one of the moving forces in Olympia. You have the teachers union on one side, you have the realtors on the other, and it's kind of amazing. But when you think about it, that the expression, the tail that wags the dog, Mason County is not a very big county compared to Kitsap, but got to admit, they're sure a tail that's wagging the dog. They've done a lot of things, and so congratulations to Rob Drexler as being selected as Realtor of the Year for Washington State, and he will be representing Washington State on the national stage carrying our Washington flag, which I just think is just cool. With that being said, is there anything further to come before this commission? I will entertain a motion, Commissioner.
I move that we adjourn.
We are adjourned.